I believe the way we code nowadays is fundamentally flawed. Especially if you work within a team or on a very large project, you're probably gonna run into the same thing. So let's imagine we have 3 developers, right? And they're working on some kind of a product. Hopefully it's an interesting one. So what you're gonna have here is the fact that all of these 3 developers have different machines, obviously, and every machine is going to have a different version of Python installed, Docker installed, NPM, C#, JavaScript, Node.js, whatever you have there. And the versions are going to be slightly different on every machine. So this is going to lead to the fact that sometimes you have version mismatches. I literally had to pull the Oracle databases image on my local machine through Docker recently, and it worked perfectly on a Windows machine, but it didn't work on a Mac OS anymore. So this is going to lead to the following sentence that you're going to hear quite often within your team, and it's called, "It works on my machine though." When I say quite often, probably a couple of times within a month. And usually what happens is that a more senior dev goes to a less senior dev or a junior dev and tries to help to solve this problem, and that you might usually take a day or two. So this is really going to slow down the team. And there's actually a company that's going to solve this issue that we have, which is also sponsoring this video. They're called Coder, but more on that later. But there's also another problem that I have. Another problem is onboarding, and I've been there too myself many times. So the new developer who joins the team has to catch up with the rest of the team, meaning they have to install the same dependencies. And the bigger the company is usually, the more problems you have, because big companies really do a good work securing their laptops. They have firewalls, they have proxies that you need to connect, but a new developer doesn't have any of that working. And they have to battle through all of these hurdles to be able to commit something on this product. And it might take a week, and in the worst case, even 2 weeks. All right. Everyone has been there, I think, if you have worked on a slightly big company. Another thing that I'm already seeing is something with AI agents. Okay. So everyone has coding agents like Claude, GitHub Copilot installed on their local machines. This is pretty cool, but wouldn't it be great if these agents would actually run in some kind of a environment where our product also lives and be able to analyze the bugs and read the logs and then suggest us something? I think would be quite cool. And if you're a data engineer, here's the fourth problem that I also have seen many data engineers run to, which is our local developments are not infinite. Our machines don't have infinite RAM. So if you're working with a lot of data, your computer is going to scream for more RAM. So it would be great to actually have a bit more power to be able to connect to some infrastructure that lets you run these heavy operations. And when I say an infrastructure, I mean literally a place where you can onboard your developers. So here's one developer, here's the second developer, where you can bring your product, meaning you can literally pull your code and you can create this infrastructure in an easy fashion. And there are companies doing that already. And one of the great companies that can facilitate the whole process, it's called a Coder. And as I said, they are the sponsor of this video, and Coder is an AI development infrastructure, meaning they also have a Coder Community Edition, which is completely free, so you can go and check it out. And they're doing all of these things, all of these problems that I described, they are being solved by Coder. And Coder is already being used by large companies such as Dropbox and Palantir. And I'm going to show you how easy it is to use. So in Coder, you have templates, and templates are something that you can build upon. So templates are going to include Terraform files to be able to spin up your infrastructure. So pretty much, if we look at our box here, the infrastructure where the product, developers, and AI is going to live, this is being spun up within this Terraform file. All right. This Terraform file is basically the whole template that you're going to define. In this case, I'm spinning up an EC2 instance and I'm defining in which region I want it, and I am defining how much memory it has to have. All right. And you can see that I have 2 more templates. I have one template for an AI agent. It's called tasks on Docker, and another one, just a Docker image with RabbitMQ and Node.js, which are running locally. But if you want to run something on premise, you can do that. If you want something to run in the cloud, you can opt in for Google Cloud or AWS, whatever you want. And in workspaces, as I said, this is pretty much where your products live. So I have two applications. One of them is an Angular and Django application, which is based on a tasks on Docker. So I'm using my AI agents there. And I have another one called AWS Linux. And this is pretty much empty. I don't have any Angular app there. It's pretty much an empty repository for my YouTube channel. I'm going to show you how it looks like. So this workspace is already running. If I look into the logs, we're going to see that it's healthy. And I'm going to go into code server because you can also use your local installation of VS Code, but code server is maybe more interesting. And what code server is basically your VS Code IDE, but now running within this EC2 instance on AWS that has just spun up. And you can see that this is my YouTube tutorials repository that I pulled into, and I have the code from my very recent video here. Okay, this is how it looks like. And I'm gonna go to my Angular Django web app task, and you're gonna see that it's basically an Angular application that's already deployed and running. So simple application for demonstration. But an interesting thing here is that we have a tasks tab, and tasks tab are letting you create AI agents that are going to be able to work on your code. So when do you need these AI agents? So let's go back to our whiteboard, and we're gonna see that we can actually have these AI agents not only on your machine, but they can also, so I'm gonna copy this, they can also be running on their own, all right? They can run here on your product and do something. So let's imagine you can create an AI agent which is going to add unit tests as you write code. So you write code, you push it, you don't write any unit tests, and your AI code is going to write. Of course, it's good to do TDD, so test-driven development, but sometimes you can also leverage it to AI. Or let's say AI then analyzes your code for clean code and suggests improvements. Or even you can create workflows. So let's say your product owner creates some kind of a bug. So the bug is going to be here, and your Terraform infrastructure or a task that you define within this Terraform file is going to listen to your bugs. So every time you create a bug, it's going to fetch the description, it's going to fetch the title of this bug, and it's going to go and try to reproduce this on a product and then come back to you, to a developer, and suggest some edits or suggest some resolutions for this bug. Pretty much a lot of things can be happening behind the scenes. So let's say I'm going to create a new task here. I'm going to say change the main color of the app from green to yellow. And I specify which task I want, and I specify which app I want it to run on. So now my task is being initialized, and I'm going to go inside it. And we're going to get some logs here, and I'm going to show you the final state of what it has done. So fast forward, it basically pulled the same application, installed Claude, and did whatever I told it to do. So this is not it. It doesn't only change the colors. If I go back to the task and literally create another task and say that, hey, every time I make a commit, please look at my commit and update my documentation if needed. And it's going to do that. And it's going to do it asynchronously on the background, and I can just leave these tasks running. I don't have to delete them or close them. And this is how cool Coder is. So if you guys agree with me that this should be the future of software development, smash a like and leave a comment below, and don't forget to check out Coder. It's completely free to use, and I'm going to see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.